Hey, fellow artists! A while back, I came up with the idea of making Wizard Staff cigar box guitars featuring the mal de ojo gems or evil eye amulets I paint using flat back glass pebbles for my handmade jewelry. I'm thinking of inlaying them at the top of headstocks above the tuners, like what I've done with this abalone shell cabochon on my acid CBG. Recently, I was gifted a plunge router, shout out to my friend Pete, with a roundover bit, the perfect attachment for making my inlays. And now I can easily carve out recesses in my headstocks large enough for the glass pebbles I use for my painted glass eyes. I prefer painting glass pebbles instead of perfectly shaped cabochons because the imperfections in the pebbles result in more organic looking eyes. However, there is a drawback to using glass pebbles. Most clear, flat-backed glass pebbles are titanium coated, which gives them an iridescent finish that obscures any paintwork applied to the flat side. Therefore, if you plan to try this project, make sure the pebbles you choose are not titanium coated. But before I paint any eyes, I had to learn to use my plunge router. After watching some tutorials and practicing on a piece of scrap wood, I got an idea of how to make relatively flat-bottomed recesses that snugly fit my glass pebbles. Basically, the process that worked for me was the following. 1. While pressing down on the router until the bit touched my workbench, I used my glass pebble to set the height of the router's depth stop rod. 2. Then I traced the shape of my pebble onto the workpiece. 3. I carved out the recess in layers. Instead of digging all the way down the center of my tracing and then carving towards the edges, I first carved the entire shape at a single level. Then I repeated this process at a lower level. I continued this layering method until I reached the maximum depth set by my depth stop rod. This approach helped keep the bottom of the recess flat. 4. Finally, the plunge router is awesome for getting the right size and depth, but at least for me, it's not great for detail work. To make the recess fit my glass pebble perfectly, I finished off my recess with a Dremel tool. Now it's time to paint the eye design on my glass pebble. Just an FYI, I did not come up with this idea. I learned to paint glass eyes from Yvonne Williams, who is an extraordinary artist and craftswoman on YouTube. You should definitely check out her channel, Back to Earth Creations. I left a link in the video description box. This is what I use to paint my mal de ojo eyes. 1. Copper tape. This is the same tape I use for my electronics projects. 2. Black nail polish. 3. Iridescent nail polish. The one I'm using shifts between blue, green, and purple. 4. Green nail polish. 5. A sharp scratching implement. Here, I'm using an old dip pen with a sharp nib. And 6. A strong paper towel to clean your nib. Unlike Yvonne, I've never been able to paint the pupils correctly. Instead, I use my copper tape, cutting it into the shape of a cat's pupil, and then I adhere the sticky side to the flat side of my glass pebble. The result is a beautiful piece of glass with what resembles a copper inlay in the shape of a cat's pupil. The next step is what gives the eye its cat-like or lizard-like characteristics. Take the black nail polish and carefully paint over and around the copper inlay, outlining it. Allow it to dry for about a minute. Then, use your scratching tool to gently pull the paint away from the pupil toward the outer edge of the glass pebble. Next, take your black nail polish and outline the edge of the glass pebble. Allow it to dry again for about a minute and then use your scratching tool to pull some paint toward the pupil. Okay, now comes the fun part. I love working with iridescent paint. First, take your color-shifting nail polish and paint the entire backside of your pebble. Once this layer of paint is dry, apply a layer of green nail polish over it. After the green paint dries, I like to lock in the design with a coat of black nail polish. Doesn't this look absolutely magical? This could have been the end of my video, folks, but I was so inspired that I had to bring my full Wizard Staff CBG to life via the magic of photo editing and the sorcery of AI image generation. Wait a second. I don't think I'm properly dressed for this occasion. That's almost right, but... Okay, That's better. I've built lots of cigar box guitars with Padron boxes, and I think these have the perfect look for my prospective Wizard Staff CBGs. I've brought a photo of one of my Padron CBGs into Adobe Express and used the AI removal feature to eliminate the basic round sound holes I drilled into this particular guitar. I definitely want something more ornate for my future Wizard Staff CBG. I found these beautiful F-hole designs online and converted them into a PNG file with transparent background. This will allow me to easily layer them over my Padron box in Adobe Express. In the near future, when I actually build the cigar box guitar, I plan to use this PNG file to carve out these sound holes on a Padron box using my budget laser engraver. By the way, my 5th newsletter contains a full tutorial on how to carve fancy sound holes onto cigar boxes using a budget laser engraver. Subscribe to my newsletter for free and get access to my newsletter library. Okay, now I'm going to Photoshop my painted glass eye onto this CBG's headstock. Wow, that already looks pretty magical, but it isn't wizardy enough for me yet. I've recently become pretty decent at applying metal leaf to wood. What if I used my laser engraver to carve out some simple but magical patterns onto this CBG's box and neck, and then I apply copper gilding to those patterns? Wouldn't that look amazing? Let's find out by having Gemini add these final details onto my CBG. I imported my edited CBG image into Gemini and described the patterns I wanted in copper gilding. And voila! I now have a mock-up of my future Wizard Staff CBG. Behold! Is she not fair to look upon? A vision of grace, fashioned in the elder days of the Mississippi Delta. Great is my desire to set my hand onto the labor of this CBG, Glirandor, the Wand of Melodies. Yet let not your hearts be troubled, for I do not seek to bind this design in the darkness of my own keeping. Nay, I cast it freely into Ea, that the light of making and the enchantment of song may be shared by all who dwell beneath the sun. Should it come to pass that you fashion your own Wizard Staff CBG in the days that lie ahead, I deem it a worthy task. I pray thee, send word unto the halls of Psyche Opera, that I may look upon your works and raise a song of praise within the circles of our kin. And if these tidings have kindled a fire in your spirit, consider then the offering of a cortadito, a draught of the most potent magic, for through the token of Ko-Fi found in the scrolls below, may such a gift be rendered. Farewell for now, until the stars align and we meet again in the next chronicle. Chaito.
He once was a true love of mine. Tell him to make me a cambric shirt. Parsley, sage, sage,